All right, today we're going to do your study guide for quiz 3. Quiz 3 will be tomorrow. I will be out on Friday and Monday, so you will be doing a assigned Alex knowledge check. So make sure that that gets completed by Tuesday morning at the very latest, because you'll have 2 days of class time, and it will be for a grade, so please take it seriously. And like I said, make sure you've got a calculator out for the study guide today, because some of your multiple choice answers on the quiz tomorrow will have to be converted from what's called simplest radical form to a decimal, because we haven't gone over writing numbers in simplest radical form yet. We'll cover that next week. So here we go. Right off the bat, we're going to find the geometric mean of the parent numbers. So the geometric mean of 6 and 10, that is the square root of 6 times 10. All right, so we're going to go with the square root of 60 for number 1. And then we take the square root of 60, and we get 7.7. So we need to find out which one of these answers correlates to 7.7. So we're going to scratch out the 60. Square root of 66 is not going to equal the square root of 60. And the square root of 70 is not equal to the square root of 60. So the only thing left is 2 times the square root of 15. And if you want to verify that in your calculator, push 2 times 15 square root button and hit equals. And we get 7.7. So it's answer choice D. 2 radical 15 means 2 times the square root of 15. Okay? And then just hit equals after that in your calculator, and you're converting from simplest radical form to decimal form. Also, make sure that your calculator is set to second fix 1. You should only see one number to the right of your decimal on your calculator screen. All right, in problem number 2, you got to find the values of A and B right here. So A is our altitude drawn to the hypotenuse. So A is going to be equal to the square root of 32 times 2. So A equals the square root of 64. The square root of 64 is equal to 8. And then B is going to be equal to the square root of 2 times the entire length of this hypotenuse, which is 32 plus 2, which is 34. 2 times 34 is the square root of 68. And the square root of 68 is 8.2. So our A is 8 and our B is 8.2. So in a multiple choice situation, we can get rid of answer choice B, and we can get rid of answer choice D. So A and C both have A being 8. So is 8.2 equal to 8 times the square root of 17? Well, 8 times 17 square root is equal to 33. Right? So this equals 33. And it needs to equal 8.2, so it's not answer choice C either, it's answer choice A. Yes?
How do you put that into your calculator?
You type 2 times, let's do it with this one right here, with this 2 radical 17. Push 2 times 17 square root equals. Well, then your calculators, let me see what calculator you got. All right, so answer choice A. Problem number 3. Find the length of the altitude drawn to the hypotenuse. Well, they didn't label it, but this here is the altitude drawn to the hypotenuse. Right there. So the length of the altitude, we can say the altitude is equal to the square root of 7 times 21. And go 7 times 21 equals, that's the square root of 147. And then just push the square root button, 12.1. All right, so again, it's not 28 and it's not 147. So if we take 7 times 3 square root, 7 times 3 square root and hit equals, I get 12.1. So this is equivalent to 12.1. Our answer was 12.1. So we're going with answer choice B. If you want to practice, type 2 times 7 square root. And I get 5.3. All right, so it's not answer choice D either. All right, problem number 4. Kristen lives directly east of the park. Kristen lives directly east of the park. Football field is directly south of the park. All right, so home, this is where Kristen lives. Library sits on a line formed between Kristen's home and the football field. At the exact point where an altitude to the right triangle formed by her home, the park, and the football field could be drawn. Library is 2 miles from her home. Football field is 5 miles from home. All right. How far is the library from the park? Library and park. That's our altitude drawn to the hypotenuse. So question A is equal to the square root of 5 times 2, which is the square root of 10, which is 3.2. And the second question, how far is the park from the football field? All right, so park down to the football field, I'm going to call it B, and we need this entire hypotenuse length. So that's going to be your 5 plus your 2, which is 7. So B is going to be equal to the square root of 5 times 7, which is the square root of 35, which is equal to 5.9. So there's your 2 distances for question number 4. And let's see, we got a 3.2. All right, so look up here for our answer choice A. We had it as radical 10 that we converted to 3.2. So our first answer is radical 10. So we're going to be using answer choice A or B. We're not going to be using C, and we're not going to be using D. And look at answer choice A, the second part. Square root of 35 miles. Well, here's our square root of 35 miles. So we're going with answer choice A. In both of those cases, they didn't convert them to decimals. So actually, if we would have glanced at that when we started the problem, we could have just stopped at this step on each one of those. Okay? All right, number 5 is a Pythagorean theorem problem. We've covered it a couple times this year, but we've got a right triangle. All right? The Pythagorean theorem says that for every right triangle, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. When our a and our b are the legs of the right triangle and c is the hypotenuse. Remember, c is always across from the right angle. So to find the length of the hypotenuse here, we're going to take 7 squared plus 8 squared and set it equal to c squared. So in your calculator, you can type 7, push the x squared button, plus 8 x squared button, and hit equals. And we get 113 equals c squared. If we square root each side, we do that to eliminate this radical. Well, then radical 113 is equal to c. And right here, answer choice C. Problem number 6, Pythagorean theorem again. We're going to label these sides. The sides that form the right angle are always sides A and B. The side opposite or across from the 90-degree angle is side C. So in this case, we have 11 squared plus B squared. That's equal to 18 squared. We're going to subtract 11 squared from each side. And B squared is equal to, again, in your calculator, you can type 18x squared minus 11x squared, hit equals, and we get 203. We are going to square root both sides to eliminate the exponent. So the square root of b squared is equal to b, and that's equal to the square root of 203. If we glance through these answers, we don't need to go any further. It's right here. Answer choice D. All right, problem number 7 is back to geometric mean. And it is not multiple choice. So the geometric mean of 275 and 11 is equal to the square root of 275 times 11. 275 times 11 equals, that's the square root of 3025. And then push the square root button and we get 55. Number 8, the geometric mean of 36 and 4 is equal to the square root of 36 times 4. And that is equal to the square root of 144. And the square root of 144 equals 12. Problem number 9. Find the length of the missing side. Diagram's not drawn to scale. Again, it's a right triangle and we're missing one of the legs. So we label it A. The other leg that forms the 90-degree angle is side B. And the hypotenuse, or the side opposite the 90, is always side C. So A squared plus 24 squared equals 25 squared. I'm going to subtract 24 squared from each side. So our a squared is equal to 25x squared button minus 24x squared button equals, get 49. And then we're going to find the square root of each side. And our a is equal to 7. And problem number 10 is another Pythagorean theorem problem. Let's label the legs that form the 90 A and B. The side opposite the 90 is side C. So 8 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. 8 squared plus 6 squared in the calculator, 100 equals C squared. We're going to find the square root of each side. Square root of 100 is equal to 10. And the square root of C squared is equal to C. So there's the third side of our right triangle. All right, number 11, our last problem for this study guide. What are the values of A and B? All right, so here's our A. It's one of the smaller pieces of this hypotenuse. So our rule says that 6 equals the square root of A times 8, or 8A. Did that problem yesterday as an example in the notes, and it was also assigned in your practice. So when we're in this situation, we want to eliminate this square root symbol so that we can isolate the A. And the technique you use to do that is you square the right side. And if you square the right side of an equation, you have to square the left side of the equation. So 6 squared equals 36. And the square root of 8A squared equals 8A. You can divide both sides by 8. And 36 divided by 8 equals 4.5. So our A is equal to 4.5, which makes this entire hypotenuse equal to 8 plus 4.5, which is 12.5. So our B is equal to the square root of 4.5 times 12.5. And 4.5 times 12.5, 56.3. And the square root of 56.3 is equal to 7.5. So our B is equal to 7.5. Here's our A, here's our B. All right, that completes your study guide for quiz 3. Again, you're going to have a sub tomorrow and Monday. Your assignment is going to be to, Friday and Monday. Your assignment is going to be to complete the knowledge check in the ALEKS app. And again, that will be for a grade. If you need help setting your calculator up to round to the nearest tenth, let me know. If you're confused about how to multiply a whole number by a square root in your calculator, let me know, because you're going to have to do that tomorrow when you take this quiz. All right, so that's all I got for you for today. You can use the rest of the period to get there's 2 electronic assignments this week that have to be completed. And like I said, quiz tomorrow, ALEKS app on Friday and Monday. And then I'll be back on Tuesday.
Mr. Wilson back?